All 10,000 of you. Good. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. Willkommen. Bonjour. Since we're already speaking en français. Huh? When did you start speaking French? What's up?
You're in trouble now.
You took French in high school?
Church is canceled.
Well, how did you know that?
Well, Sarah, the girl that was in my class, she took French and she taught some words.
Careful, careful. You had me for a minute and then you lost me. We're glad to see you guys back there, all y'all, with your beautiful growing children. Those of you who are logging on, welcome. Glad you're here on this chilly day. You know, the trees are already budding all around my house, and it seems to do this every year. It's like the weather goes, psych, you know, it's spring up. But anyway, glad y'all are here. Appreciate, Charles is in absentia today, so BJ is doing all the jobs. Okay. Oh, it's okay. Just tell us when you're through. Spirit of God, we are ever aware that we're in your presence. Where can we go from your presence? But on days like today, something else happens. There is a manifestation of spirit that comes into the natural world. The Word becomes flesh. And so on this very special day in February of 2026, we thank you for the unprecedented special thing that is going to happen. And we welcome it. We thank you for it. Please remain standing. Let's do the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, presence of divine love and light that lives within us and within all of life, hallowed be thy name. We invoke the powerful creative nature of all that is sacred and holy. Thy kingdom come. We embrace the healing essence that is the kingdom of heaven within us. Thy will be done. We accept our greatest good as we align with our divine nature. On earth as it is in heaven, knowing that the affairs of our lives reflect our evolving consciousness. Give us this day our daily bread. Each day we receive great blessings from within and throughout all the activities of our lives. And forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. We accept the divine nature of all things and all people, including ourselves, as we move away from judgment and toward greater awareness of divine presence. And lead us not into temptation. We shall be vigilant in expressing and experiencing the oneness with all life. But deliver us from evil, as we are learning to live without fault-finding and suffering. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever and ever. For we accept the consciousness of divine perfection with all its power and glory right here, right now, and forever. Amen. And so it is. Tell the person next to you, there's nobody I'd rather sit next to than you today, and then you may be seated. Come in, come in, come in. Hello, hello, darling. Hey, bud. Come in. Hello, hello, hello. Several things. First of all, I want to acknowledge, because I don't think I said anything about it last week, but Carl, who's here, his mom passed away last week, and her funeral, her service was this past Wednesday. And Carl did a really good job. He did at the funeral what I think funerals should be. He was very aware of my situation and even gave me an opt-out. He said, I know you're dealing with, because I mean literally, they could call me while I'm talking and say that Mom's going and I'll just have to leave. As of last night, she wasn't, but who knows. But they at the service, Carl spoke and he emceed it, and they did, I think, what you're supposed to do at a service. Like they made it about her. Like everybody, like he had people stand up and give anecdotes, and it kind of filled in the blanks for me because I've known Charles from. See, I don't even know his name. I've known Carl. I've known that guy for several years, but we haven't really talked about family or whatever. So it kind of gave me some perspective on who he was, and quite frankly, made my job easier because it wasn't the best day in the world for me to be doing a funeral. But you do what you got to do, and Carl's dad was Chilean, but his mother was Scottish, and she had at the graveside they had a. If I look at my watch, it's because it's messages. She was Scottish, and they had I've always loved bagpipes. They had a really good bagpipe player, and very effective. Where he played the song "Going Home," and he played it and kind of walked up on a hill, and it was very, very nicely done. And also, Carl's heard me complain about people not paying me for funerals. So while I was waiting, the service was in Conyers, which y'all know I've been to Conyers before, but I swear every time I do a funeral, I get Scott Ward and what's the one in Covington? Caldwell and Cowan. And I was driving. I didn't tell you this. I was driving as hard as I could to Covington, and like the Holy Spirit said, "This is at Scott Ward." And I turned around, and I'm going to tell you Conyers people something. Any of you Conyers people that say I can't come to Metron because of the traffic, that's a lie. Because that traffic on 138 in Conyers, there's no possible way Atlanta's worse than that. There's no way. That's just a cop-out. So stop it. Because even y'all must have been on the exit ramp behind. He said, "Why were you coming from this direction?" I said, "Because I was trying to do this funeral in Covington." I mean, I only lived out there for 30 years. I can't even imagine how many funerals I've done out there. But anyway, I did get there. But then the service was over in like West End area. I mean, the burial. And so I think it was your cousin came up to me and he said, "Carl just texted me and said, 'Tell Bishop I have an envelope for him.'" I said, "It's okay." I know it made it sound like I'm not gonna quote the Rihanna song, but the word did get. But anyway, he was very, and it's been a difficult time for him because he was close to his mom, but he did it. When I got up to do my part, I said, "Y'all honestly didn't even need me here today because no person can preach your funeral. You preach your funeral, by how you live." And so people got up and said stuff that was, pertinent. I'd much prefer that than somebody up there saying some irrelevance. At least I'm not irrelevant. I mean, I will get up and say something that matters. But I appreciate that. And I was mostly there, honestly, moral support for you, because I know that was, that's hard. That's hard to do. I mean, I may be doing my mother's service next week, and so I've been doing funerals virtually my whole life, but that's going to be different doing hers. And so anyway, what's your name again? Keep Carl in your prayers. And, even the stuff that Zach, in his way, shared about her gave me some insight to their relationship. That they, you could tell they were, that's her only grandchild, right? And they were buds. I mean, so it's like, that was cool. The human the human experience is important. And when people make services over spiritual, I think you miss the point. It's supposed to be about celebrating the person. And I'd never met his mom, so quite frankly, that's a challenge. Like when I did Leona's service, I could have gone on for 2 more hours because it's like I had so much I could say about her that I knew. But anyway, it was good. You did good, Carl. I'm proud of you. So let me get these. What are they called? Announcements. Did you just tell me that? What's that word? I'm playing charades. 3-syllable. Announcements out of the way. Next Sunday is our last Sunday in the Atlanta Theater. So Johnny Almanza is going to be here. He's going to bring the cello that y'all basically bought for him. And I'm looking forward to that. I texted him. He's had a hard time because his 28-year-old brother-in-law just didn't wake up the other day. And was it last Saturday night? Huh? Well, are they going to make an entrance or what? Are they just going to stand like, would you just get in here already? Good Lord, get in. Y'all linger behind the curtain and make me wait for it.
I like the announcement that was voice here.
They're outside. Wait for it. So anyway, he was. I think it was last Saturday night. He was like in a. I hope you don't mind me telling this, but he was having a really hard time with it, and he even said, because he was crying, and he said, "Can I come to Metron tomorrow?" I said, "Well, of course you can." He said, "You're my bishop," and I said, "Buddy, make sure you get home safe right now." But then he didn't. He didn't make it that last Sunday. But I texted him and said, "Are you doing okay?" And he said, "I'm still processing, but thanks for checking on me." So I texted him yesterday. I said, "Next Sunday's our last Sunday there. I'd like to, can you come?" And he said, "I'd love to." So he will be here. So it's going to be an important day. And I don't know what happens after March 1st. I mean, everything in my life right now is kind of on hold until this next thing that's about to happens, which of course I'm going to talk about, and I'll incorporate it in my teaching. But I met with the tech team last week, and discussed some options. I was up at 5 o'clock this morning trying to visualize it, and I'm still not exactly sure what it would entail, and it wouldn't happen immediately. But I do have a very large room that we haven't figured out what to do with yet, that could accommodate basically this many seats. That seems a little optimistic. I don't know if it could be quite this many, but and I'm not talking about trying to do Metron in my house. It would be a different concept. It would be going full-time podcast with a limited studio audience. And I don't know how we would work out the logistics on that. I'm just saying that has been discussed. But honestly, I don't know. And Judah's looked at some other theaters. Like I told you last week, this theater just kind of fell in his lap. And, to pursue another one at this point, he knows I've already talked to him. I said, this is what I'm thinking about doing. Whatever's going to happen, it would not be immediate. So I don't know if y'all have heard of this thing called the internet, but if you will avail yourself to that. I'll always be doing something on Sunday. And we even talked about whatever I do wouldn't necessarily have to be on a Sunday morning. The only thing is, like nights of the week or whatever, could be traffic consideration that you wouldn't have on a Sunday morning. So I don't know. I mean, I'm literally moving with the cloud. I love online, but I do like to see your faces. I do like to. There is a different vibe when we're together. We will continue to do the meditation weekends, which brings me to the next thing. The meditation weekend number 28 is coming up Easter weekend, April 4th and 5th on Jekyll Island. So we will still have that ability to fellowship, but I literally just don't know. I'm totally living in the now. So, and I don't think I didn't do an outreach for this month, didn't I? Because this was my ministry anniversary. All right, thank you. And some of you have sent something, and I appreciate that. Sonia gave me something last week. She gave me cash. She said, I'm going to give you my emergency money. I said, what? Now what are you going to do if you have an emergency? She said, I can get it somewhere. So I was looking at it in my wallet last night. I was like, I hope Sonia doesn't have an emergency, because I got her emergency fund. Oh, excuse me. I forgot Sonia's a baller. My bad. Well, all right then. Then I'm going to feel just fine about it. I'll be like, you're just fine right where you are. You know what's cool? Speaking of that, this was really cool. Actually, I might even read it. So Friday night, to say it's the last few days have been a lot, of course, would be an understatement. And by the time he got home, I said, you know what? I don't think I'm going to eat tonight. Just you figure out what you want to do. But then we talked about it, and I said, I'll order something from Uber Eats. And I said, you want me to order something from it was a Mexican restaurant we like. And he said, why don't we just go there? And I said, all right. And when you just been in a hospice room and you're like, you don't know what it's like, I don't want to think about dinner. I'm like, okay, fine. So we go, and I won't use her name, but we go to dinner, and it was good. We like that place. So the next day I get this friend request from somebody. Like I said, just so you'll know, if you ever send me something on a private message, I might screenshot it, but I never use your name unless I ask your permission. If it's something that you post, if it's a comment you post on my page, then it's like, well, you've already made that public. So that's why I maintain anonymity. She said, you don't need to accept my friend request. I see we were friends before by this message. When I saw you and your husband at Frontera last night sitting next to us, my heart jumped when I recognized you because I just adored you and your family when I attended CITN back in the day. I didn't approach you because my instinct said not to. Now that I've read your post, I see why, because I'd posted about Mom. She said, I really wanted to just buy your dinner last night. No one at my table, including my husband, was in my life back then, so they didn't know how cool it was for me to see you there. I explained it in the car as best I could. Anyway, please just send me a link to a payment app so I can treat you and your husband to your fajitas. It's the least I could do as you walk through this difficult time with your mom. And just know there was a woman sitting across from you all, remembering how amazing you were and are. Be blessed, Bishop. And she did. She sent me, more than enough for dinner. And, I was glad Ken hadn't cussed out the waitress. Because, sometimes you get a couple of margaritas in him and he goes all Putnam County. But that was just really sweet. And I said, thank you. And next time you see me, by all means, come up and say hello. That would have been fine. But I'm sure if she looked at us, I was just kind of sitting there staring off into space. I don't think we said two words to each other. We just sat there and ate silently. So we probably were sending out a do not approach vibe. But it's all good. So that was a blessing. All right. Hey, listen. From what I taught last week, y'all are really brave to come back for a second helping, but it's going to be a lot, a little more gentle. I don't think it could be much worse. So if we're ready,
I got you.
all right. That's what I was waiting for, Beach. Welcome to the Metron Live podcast, coming to you from the Atlanta Theater in the Kirkwood neighborhood. Please, Metron people, welcome the podcast people by your applause. I always thank Charles for doing this, and today BJ, our amazing and multi-talented BJ. BJ, I never pronounce your name. It's Buford, right?
It is.
Like Buford, Georgia. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had some. Isn't that funny? I've never said your last name. I always read it. You're just Beej. Beej. BJ, you're like, to me, you're one title, like Beyonce.
That's it.
Anyway, okay. I say you're in my prayers. Thank you. This wasn't going to be a series, and I'm not sure it technically is. I'll say it's a two-parter. So I speak into this atmosphere and I say, let there be light. All right. Here's the title. And kudos to Avery for coming up with this title, because I really hadn't thought about it, but it makes sense. Oh, it's on the shout out. It was basically Origin Stories Part 2 is what I talked about.
Origin stories and finding the good part.
Her title suggestion was Origin Stories and Finding the Good Part, which was good and gave me some direction. I went into some very sensitive areas. And let me just say, it's good y'all chose today to come, not last week, because it was very R-rated. And I'm not going to get in. I made my point about all of that. Eddie was here last week, and he brought up about the mark of Cain. I'm not going to get into all that. If you're interested, Google it. It's another passage that white supremacists have used to manipulate the scriptures for power purposes. That being said, and I appreciate Avery's suggestion of finding the good part, because there is a good part. I'm going to say it for the bazillionth time. It's yes and, it's not either or. There are things in the Bible that are horrific and baffling and sound crazy and invalidate what other Bible writers have said. There's like an argument going on. There's things that you read in the scriptures that you think, man, if I'm going to believe that was in an original language, but that really seems out of character. Like even in the Gospels, where Jesus gives the parable of the unjust steward, and he says the children of light, the children of this world are more enlightened even than the children of light. What basically the guy did something that's manipulative and possibly criminal, and Jesus set him up as an example. Because he worked for, the thing was, he worked for this guy, and they owed the steward all this stuff. So he went to all of the people that owed the guy money and gave them 50% off, so that at least they would pay something. But it really wasn't his job description, and it's kind of, like if you just read it, it's like Jesus is saying, do what you got to do. Like he's saying the ends justify the means, which doesn't sound like a real morality tale. So and I'm not going to get into the whole white supremacy thing today. I think I've made that point. But even the fact that people of color can know that and still embrace the scriptures, I think is one of the ultimate acts of rightly dividing the truth. To say, yes, I recognize, it's what LGBT people have to do. To say, yes, I recognize that verse, that somebody said that, we think. And yes, that could be problematic. But I also know that something happened to me that manifested through the scriptures, and I'm not going to cut that out of my life. And so I've got to figure out, because here's the thing. I love Atlanta. I love being downtown. There's things about Atlanta that are horrible. I told you, because Judah's moved into the loft now, and so I've told him a few things. He has a really high truck, so he he cannot make it up to my parking space is like on the second story. There's no way. I mean, I said, let me just see. I said, I'm going to walk beside your truck and let's see if it clears these. Because I saw a woman who lived here, her van knock off one of the sprinklers, and we all had to evacuate the building. And he said, what happened? I said, everybody in the building came out and cussed her out. Because we're all like, and it happened in the middle of the night. And it was all because, so I said, you cannot do that. And I said, so he's found somebody that traded with him, so now he can just drive right in. So it all worked out. But I said, Judah, let me explain something to you. If they tow your car from here, trust me, because I've been there a couple of times. Once with me, once with Ken. What you have to go through and the neighborhood you have to go to, and I grew up in Atlanta. I know where the hood is. This place is so bad, people in the hood are like, nah, man, we don't go down there. I mean, it's like you get out of the car, there's gunfire over your head, like you're running, like, please don't shoot me till I get my car. Yes. I said, it's so bad. If they tow you, I said, you've got to get all your parking stickers and all that kind of stuff. If they tow you, just get a new car. It's not worth it. Just say, no, y'all can have it. What you have to go through. So I'm making that point, and he gets it. He actually lived there before years ago, but it's very different now than it was then. So there's parts of, like, to love Atlanta, I have to rightly divide it. Do you understand? Like, people say, isn't there a lot of traffic? Like, yeah, it's a city. A lot of people have cars and they drive them at the same time, and they, so you do the math, and if you live here, you kind of know which neighborhoods to. Like, sometimes if I ever am down here and get an Uber, I will tell them, like, look, I'm not trying to micromanage you, but just in case, you might want to take this shortcut here this time of day. And usually they thank me for it. Sometimes I'm not telling you how to do your job. I'm just telling you, if you go that way, we're going to be sitting here for about an hour. And, every time they're like, oh, thank you. I didn't even know this was a thing. I'm like, you have to be from here to know it. So we can't tell you everything. So, and that's true about everything. There's wonderful things about having children. There are things about having children that make you sometimes think, why do we have children again? And everybody, whether you say it out loud or not, you've had that thought. Like, I love them. But now what? What was that about? Because that's the way everything is, including the Bible. So, are we going to throw away the Bible because some of these origin stories are a trip? No. We're going to find the good part. Now, let me tell you where I'm at right now, because the way everything in my life is aligning is a continual synchronicity. I mean, if I ever think I'm not in the flow, I always get reminded, yeah, you are. You're exactly where you're supposed to be at exactly this time. As you know, my mother has been returned to the facility where she was for about a month, since she fell and broke her pelvis. They found her unresponsive a week and a half ago. She was in the hospital. She has not been responsive since then. She tested positive for COVID. It was a whole thing that we've been through. She's been tested for everything. Like, even yesterday, my cousin was texting me saying, are you sure she didn't have a stroke or something? I said, no, they did MRI, CAT scan. Like, there's no test they haven't done on her. So it was a blessing that she was able to return to that facility, because I had already discharged her, because at a certain point they would start charging me every day for a bed. It's only covered by Medicare if she's actually there. And I didn't think she was going to leave the hospital. I mean, she was having visitors from the other side, but apparently, at least for a while, she sent them back to wherever they came from. So I learned I can't get a feel for this. As recently as yesterday, I talked to one of the hospice nurses, and she said, I'm not going to predict. She says, I can't imagine, especially with her not eating, I can't imagine her even going another week. That being said, she could wake up and start the whole process over again. And I said, okay. And she said, that's highly unlikely, but stranger things have happened. So I'm prepared for whatever. At least now that I'm in such a different frame of mind after sleeping for the past month. I mean, I don't mean I've slept for a month, but I mean like a month of actual night sleep. Deidre, I know you don't remember what sleep is, but when your kids get a load, it's a state that people go into where they're like unconscious. If you think back, you might remember. Maybe Sean may not remember. I don't know. But one day y'all will sleep again. But it's great. Y'all should try it once. Unless y'all just keep having more babies and then you're just gonna opt for something else because you won't ever sleep again. I love little pregnant couples that are like so happy. And I'm like, you have no idea what's about to happen to you, and nobody can prepare you for it. Nobody can. So. Anyway, it was a blessing that she was able to go back there. So that was, if not a miracle adjacent, because I love this place where she's at. The reason I have somehow signed with 2 hospice companies is because the hospital recommended one and the facility recommended one. And they both reached out to me. And so when the first one reached out, I mean, it's not like I just went, boop, 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 signed it. I mean, I vetted her and I said, Fountain View told me there's only a handful of hospice companies that they work with. Because she's not in a hospice facility, she's in the facility with hospice care, okay? So she said, oh, okay, I'm sorry. Well, then she calls back and she said, no, that is us. We do work with them. I'm like, okay. So we're in Lowe's, which we're always in Lowe's now. I just walk into Lowe's and I give them Sonia's emergency part of her, and I'm like, just go ahead and start. But it's not always good. I mean, it's just stuff we have to buy right now. It'll calm down a little bit. But so when she called back, she was in Lowe's. They said, no, you have to sign all this stuff tonight. So while he's showing me light fixtures and stuff, I'm signing 19 pages of things and giving her her social security number, all of that. Well, then the next day, somebody else calls and said, we're the company. I said, no, I've already. She said, no, you haven't signed the consent forms. I said, I signed something. I signed 19 pages of something. So we meet her at the place, and I show her the email. I said, this isn't y'all. And they're nearly the exact same title. Like one of them is just one word different. So, and this lady was great. And Ken sat there with me, and she went through the whole thing. And, she was awesome. And so now, because the last couple of days, people have been calling me like every 5 minutes. And I don't know which company's calling me. So I'm just thinking maybe she just got a double portion. And the facility has assured me it's going to work out, but that was a little, this has been a lot. So what I'm doing now, I'm not, if Mom was conscious, I would be there nonstop. But she doesn't. I mean, yesterday, was it the day before yesterday, I went and it doesn't feel like she's there. She makes no response at all. I said, Mom, can you hear me at all? And she's just like staring at me. And I said, can you nod a little bit? And I think maybe her head moved a little bit. I don't know. But the hospice has somebody sitting with her like 24 hours, and I said, y'all will call me if you think she's about to start transitioning, and they've assured me so. And we've talked about this today. I said, if I'm there when it happens, okay, but I can't even stress over that. If they tell me she didn't wake up, then I'll be like, all right, then she's waking up on the other side. But now, what's that got to do with choosing the good part? I'm glad you asked that. I'm very transparent. Those of you who listen to me already know that. Not only am I transparent, I don't think my anointing functions without transparency. The problem with being transparent is sometimes you're transparent. Whatever, anybody that you love and you're like, y'all are with me, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Whatever you love about somebody is also the thing that sometimes you don't necessarily hate, but is sometimes like, can I use you for an example? Y'all know I love those people in there, whatever their names are. I love them. One thing I love about Avery is her attention to detail, because she cares about minutia, the kind of stuff that matters to me. A lot of times she'll, like even when we go on meditation weekends, she'll add extra touches to her that I didn't ask her to do, but she does it. I'm like, actually, that is really cool. You know what can be challenging for my relationship with Avery is she has a great attention for detail.
You could care less.
And so we kind of have a code, because sometimes she'll give me an idea. What do you think about this? I'm like, yeah, I mean, that sounds great. It sounds like more work for you, but yeah, if you feel strongly about it, I do like that. And I mean, I would say 9.5 times out of 10, I will say, actually, I would have never asked you to do that, but that was great. Thanks for that little extra touch does matter to me. There have been some times where she said, why don't we do this? And I'm like, nah, I don't really care about that. But I think this is a really good idea. And I'm like, yeah, but I really don't care about it. And then she says, but what? And I'm like, Avery, this is like really low priority with me. Like really low priority. I can always tell. She never gets insulted with me, but I can always tell when the message received is when she texts back, okie doke. Okie doke means, I still think it's a good idea. But I guess you're in charge. So, okay. We kind of go through it in the house, because he and I have a synergy working out, and sometimes he'll suggest something. I'm like, no. I'm not. As recently as last night, because we've gone ahead and redone my mom's room, and some people, I've not posted pictures of it, because some people would think you're moving too fast. Let me tell you how I think. I don't want to dread doing that after she's gone. So I've already done that, so that I don't have to close up that room and not go in there for a year. Like it's already been done. So you grieve however you want to, but I'm like, no, I don't want to deal with that. I want to be done with that now, without me being an emotional wreck trying to decide. Like Christina told me stuff she wanted, so I kept stuff out for her and the girls. I also have put a lot of stuff in a dumpster. And some people say, oh, that's too soon. No. And he knows. I said, just so you know, I got another one coming tomorrow, because there's still some things. Bishop, why don't you give it to Goodwill? Have you given stuff to Goodwill lately? They charge you. They give you, oh, heck yeah. Especially if it's furniture. They give you a receipt for a tax write-off, which I'm not going to do. Let me tell you what's cheaper. Rent a dumpster. They come pick it up. It's cheaper than the junk removal. The junk removal, sweet Jesus. You got to take out a loan for the junk removal. I'm like, good God, that costs. I'm taking stuff out of their truck. Like, no, how much can I get out? Well, I mean, it's insane. So now that I found, I want a dumpster every week. I love these dumpster people. They come, they put it, you got 10 days to walk out there, whatever you don't want. And I'm like, this is the greatest thing that ever happened. I called that dumpster lady. I said, have you got one that's a little smaller than the last one? She says, yeah, I got that. She says, everything the same? I said, yep. Same delivery? Yep. Same credit card? Yep. All that. It'll be there tomorrow. I'm like, this morning when I was looking at all that garbage I'm like, come on, dumpster. God bless sanitation. So, but even last night, because you can't believe he was in his zone last night. If I told you all he did in that room because I just got new flooring in there, mopping the floor, painting the walls, fixing the closet that the flooring guy did something where it was like an accordion, it wouldn't open. He fixed that. What else did you do? He did part of the decorating. But then we got to a point where he had put together this chair and he put it over there in that corner. I'm like, well, that's not where that's going. It's going to go right here. He said, well, yeah, it is. I'm like, no, it goes like this. And when the rug comes, it's going to go like this. It's going to face the TV. And he's like, but that'll be in everybody's way. I'm like, I'm the last word on this. Now, that being said, sometimes he doesn't say okie doke, but sometimes he will say, can I just show you what that would look like? And many times, 9.5 times out of 10, I'll be like, actually, that does look, okay. I surrender all. But just so you know, it's still the last word. And if I don't like it, while you're at work tomorrow, I'm going to walk in there and put it back the way it's supposed to be, Jesus.
Right. She's okie doke. And you just so you know. I heard that.
No, when I was up before him this morning, and sometime, I don't know when he did it, it was like he added a few more touches in here. I'm like, when did you do this? I'm like, okay, but don't get cocky. Again, what's that got to do with origin stories? All right, let me say this. And here comes some more transparency. And may I also say, bless your hearts, y'all have had to sit through a lot of my stories, especially about this part. Day before yesterday, I called Howie because he's kind of my sounding board. We haven't said hello or goodbye since 1976. When he answers the phone, I just start talking. And then I go, I got to go. So I was telling him some of my issues with the hospice thing and everything. And he's not only patiently listened to it all, he is on more than one occasion when I've said, I'm so sorry you have to sit through all this venting. And he's like, it's totally fine. And I actually learned from your venting. But day before yesterday, he said, you should have had a sister. Because I have a sister and she takes care of all of this stuff with it. Because his dad's there. And he said, I never worry about anything. I said, Howie, you're about to end a 50-year friendship if you say that again. Because I don't have a sister. He said, no, I'm just telling you, I never worry about these things. I said, I'm not kidding.
So you know.
Say it one more time. We talked about this morning because my children have been upset with me recently because of some of the things that I've shared online about my mom. And at first I was really offended by it. And if any of y'all are watching this later, don't just hear me out on this. Because when I look at some of those posts from their vantage point, I understand that's their grandmother or their grandfather. I understand. I don't like it, but I also understand it. And I also don't retract the things that I've said. So hear me out. Two things can be true at once. And losing a parent is one thing. taking care of a parent and losing them is a whole other thing. Like I already pretty much preached this to him this morning. I said, it's just like he loves his brother. And I said, but I guarantee you, when your mom passed, it was different for you than it was for him, because you had been taking care of her for 6 years. He was just grieving. You were grieving and trying to recover from exhaustion. It's a completely different thing. So I not only understand my kid's point, I take their point. I'm like, all right, fair enough. I need to not sound disrespectful to my parents. Message received. I got it. That being said, what this last year has been like, and y'all know, you've walked with me through all of it. Even, Jared lived with my mom for 2 years, but that was 2 years ago. The things I've dealt with these last few months are things he never, ever saw. Yeah. And I'm not diminishing what he did, because it was a lifesaver. And he didn't just take care of her. He took care of the yards. He maintained the house. So I think I've been pretty vocal about how much I appreciate that. I can also say you don't know what this last year has been like, because it was different 2 years ago. Again, what's that got to do with origin story? Would you just give me a minute and let me get to it? Because I've had some rest now, and I don't feel so overwhelmed, I'm able to look at my mom in a very different way, even than I did just a few weeks ago. Every time I've left her, as recently as last night, when I put my hand on her head and say, Mom, I love you, I really mean it. It's not a struggle to say it. I'm just going to be honest with you, it wasn't as easy to say that a month or so ago. Yeah, I can look at some of the stuff that I've said even in this format or posted online, and I'm like, yeah, that was a little over the top. But man, I was at my wit's end. Let me tell you something. When people are really grieving, or they're really in pain, or they're really scared, or like, you can't judge what they say by your standard, because you're not in any way, you can't possibly be empathetic. You have no idea what they're feeling. So sometimes when you're, Tricia, I've mentioned you many times, you're used to this by now. Tricia's a lawyer. She's doing a deposition. And the guy you were, and I'm only saying this because you posted it online. I would not say this otherwise. But the guy's mic was still on, and he said something really horrible about her that was very triggering for her. And she posted about it, understandably. And I read everybody's comments. You wouldn't want to hear my comment, because I'm just like, God, that sucks. I mean, I appreciate everything that everybody said, but I'm like, yeah, that would have gotten in my head too. And so for me just to say, just dismiss that. It's easier said than done. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Finally, the next day I texted you and said, don't let that guy get inside your head. But at first I thought, no, I didn't just hear that. And I know what that's like when somebody says something that every instinct in you is wanting to defend yourself, and you say it to other people, and they're like, oh, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, no. You not only do you not know what that person said, you don't know previous things that I've had to deal with that just completely dug that up and made that live again for me. So sometimes, even in your attempt to make somebody feel better, you sometimes can make it worse. Because it sounds like you're diminishing the situation. I remember even back when we were dealing with Dad, and when he had Alzheimer's, and the first couple of times I posted about it, like people were saying, there were people who were saying, you have no idea how bad this is going to get, and they're like saying really negative stuff, and I was deleting those. I was like, no. I'm positive. In Jesus' name, it's not going to be... a few months later, those people became my favorite people online. Because I'm like, Yeah, it's much worse than what you said. And it's not just that misery loves company. It's just like sometimes there's nothing anybody can say. I packaged it. The rug came. It's a miracle. We got to go right now. And I already know where it's going to go, so don't argue with it.
I think it's good, it's safe to say who feels it and experiences it really know it.
Right.
You know.
And so later, I appreciated what those people said. It was cathartic. Because people were saying, oh my God, we went the same thing when my dad nearly killed us. I'm like, thank you. I don't want pity. I need to know that I'm not crazy and to know, oh, other people have been through this and they survived. It's not going to last forever. But right now, you minimalizing it or even saying, you don't realize this right now, but this is the sweetest time you're ever going to have with him. I'm like, don't say that again because it don't feel sweet. And in retrospect, I look back on it now and think, no, that was bad. And there's a fine line because you don't want to energize stuff and put out there that becomes, remember on Hee Haw, they used to sing, gloom, despair, and agony on me. Deep, dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for bad luck, I'd have no luck at all. Y'all know it. White people know it. Gloom, despair, and agony on me. And the whole point was, if you don't have something good to say, come sit by me. There's a negative part of that because you do need encouragers in your life. But you also just need sometimes somebody to go, God, that sucks. I'm so sorry that happened to you. And don't even try to come up with, it's easy to say, that wasn't about you. That was about that guy. I'm like, I don't know. It kind of felt like it was about me. And if you haven't been the recipient of something like that, you just have no possible way. Like, I've experienced a lot of things in life. There's some things I have not experienced. So if you tell me what it's like, I just have to go, here's the closest I could come to empathizing with that. But I'm not in your skin, so I have no idea what that's like. I mean, sometimes my questions are, I think people are surprised some of the stuff that I ask. But, I'm always curious to know, when a doctor says you have X amount of time to live, what does that feel like? Because I'm imagining what would I feel like if somebody said that? I kind of experienced it with my cardiologist. I got to go back in a few weeks and check the status of the thing in here. And the first time I went, I said, because it was really serious, and I said, it's what Dr. Sheila died from, I mean, I'm very aware of that. And I said, am I going to die? And he said, well, we're all going to die. I said, Doc, I love you. I mean, are we going to finish this conversation? Do I need to make some phone calls? And I feel better about it now and believe I'm, it's going to be fine. And it is fine. I'm just saying, I'm curious about stuff. Not prying, but the human condition. Like when Hebrews says, we have not a high priest that cannot be touched with the feelings of our infirmities, but was tempted in all points like as we are, yet without sin. I so get that on such a visceral level. Because I feel touched with people's stuff they go through, and not always compelled to give you a word. Sometimes, if we're talking, a word will come forth, but there's some things, if you're grieving about losing your mother, there's nothing I can say that's just something you're going to have to process. And I saw, you went and did karaoke the other night. I thought, wouldn't be my choice, but you got it. Like for me, the catharsis is to change this house. There are things about it, I love the house, but there's things about certain energies that I want to change and have changed. And if if anybody doesn't understand that, I'm not going to try to explain it. We love this place. We were talking about, again, this morning, how long we've been working up to this point. And I said, do you remember a decade ago when we painted this, when I told them I wanted to paint their living room red? That wasn't their idea. I said, y'all, we want to paint your living room red. And both my parents, who were both in their right mind at the time, said, well, it's going to be yours one day. Do what you want to do with it. So anything I'm doing, I feel like, no, all these projects have been greenlit. Even what I posted last night about Ken, because I was, from the minute he walked in that house 13 years ago, he started doing stuff. My dad just thought he could do it. Like, Dad would be asking him stuff about horticulture. So I'm like, Dad, he doesn't know everything. I mean, you're going to have to, And he said, I don't know. He knows a lot. I'm like, he does. But like some of the stuff you're asking, I'm not sure that's his area. But talk about sweat equity. And as I was typing it last night, he was in the next room painting. He'd been working all day. I kept saying, don't you want to sit down? He said, no, I've got. His exact words were, I got the fever. I'm like, all right, who am I to stop you unless you do something I don't like? Now, again, what about origin stories? All right. Because I've had rest now, and because I have some distance, it's so nice to be able to look at my mother and say, oh, you know what, you were really awesome. You were awesome, and you did this and you did that, and like, I'm glad that's been restored. Bishop, you didn't always feel that way? I did not. Not the last year. I mean, LaDonna and I I hope she didn't mind me saying this, we had a running text thread for the last year. Every time we went through a elder care horror story, let me tell you, we tried trying to top each other's story, and we'd always end it with HLOL, how long, O Lord? Well, her dad's gone, and my mom's about to be, and it's like, wow, we're suddenly in a different place. But when you're in the middle of it, sometimes you could think, dear God, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep doing this. Now, again, how are we connecting the dots on origin stories? Because of this. I went to Home Goods last night. I also go to Home Goods so much. When I walk in, they go, hey, Jim. I just buy stuff. I just take stuff, and I'm like, I'm going to buy this too. And he's worse than me. He keeps wanting to buy statues of horses. And he's in there sending me pictures. I'm like, we have enough horses. No more horses. You tried to show me something else. I said, I know, but look at him in this color. Yeah. No more horses. Yeah, no more wire.
It's a wildfire.
Huh?
Wildfire.
No more horses.
Not a horse.
But I found this, it's a kind of a really cool, I posted it online, but I don't think you can really tell what it looks like. It's a pretty big frame, but you can put an 11 by 16 in there. I thought, I really like that frame. I'm going to get it. And I was going to, send something to Walgreens and have them print out, and I'll put it. Then I thought, no, because I found in the last few days since Mom's been out of the house, I found lots of pictures I had never seen before. And there's this picture of them, they were evangelists as when they got married. And I found this picture of them the other day. I wonder if I could find that again. And I did. And it was perfect for that frame. Do you have it, Michelle? Okay, you can't really tell. It's actually really big. You can't tell. But that was in 1956. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, my mom would have been 18. She's 18. Dad was 23. And I remember her saying, he looked so much like Jonah there. But I remember her telling them, there's a part of my mom, and I'm remembering this now, she could be really funny and sometimes darkly funny. Like she'd say stuff like, wow, that was dark, but kudos, that was funny. But I remember her saying, when they were evangelists, I was born in 58, and that's why they stopped and became pastors then, because it was just easier to put down roots. But back then, when you were in little Pentecostal churches, they didn't have money to put you in a hotel. So if a church invited you, you stayed in the pastor's home. And Mom, I remember her telling me, she says, I was so young that after the dinner, the pastor's kids would be over like, come play with us. And they'd be bringing their dolls and wanting her to jump rope. And she'd be like, no, I am the evangelist's wife. I'm like, no, you're not. You're our age. It was really funny the way she would tell it because she was trying to be mature. And looking at that makes me understand so many things like, oh, no wonder you were like this about, I mean, it's just like missing pieces where I'm good with them. Do you know what I mean? And I know I've overshared, but you're just going to have to, for anybody that's offended, you're just going to have to give me a break on it. It was not malicious. And the one thing, and I think I said this to you, but one day she was still in the hospital. And I'm trying to think of anything I haven't said. And I said, Mom, I need to say this to you. I said, I know this past year has been hard. It's been hard for both of us. And I have, on more than one occasion, gotten very impatient with you. And I've raised my voice at you. And I've said some stuff that probably I shouldn't have said. And I hope it didn't hurt your feelings. I said, but you do know how hard it's been. And also, you know, I'm always going to be there for you. I've never not been there. And I'm not saying that if you take care of somebody, you have the right just to cuss them out. But you do have a right to maybe say some things that other people wouldn't understand. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like, if I was just some slouchy kid that didn't know where they lived, then it might be over the top. If I'm in the trenches taking care of stuff that people who have never taken care of an elderly person have any idea of, then yeah, I might say some stuff that you might not understand. That being said, choosing the good part is something you have to do every day of your life. You have to do it with the Bible. You have to do it with your relationship with church, with God, with your marriage, with your children. Especially if you're very fatigued and very stressed and very triggered, you don't even know what you're feeling. I mean, you don't even know. You just feel desperate and don't see an out. So what I want to say to you about the biblical origin stories, because I mean, especially in the Old Testament, women took a beating from the patriarchy. I mean, good God. Verses of Scripture have been taken out of context to manipulate LGBT people. White supremacists have taken Scriptures out of context to dominate people of color. It's just true. And the reason there's no point in even arguing about it now, when I first came out, I used to get invited to a lot of debates. Like people would say, we saw your book, or we saw you on the Don Lemon show. Don Lemon's made a big comeback lately. And every time he's on the news, I always text him and say, hey, I saw it. Sometimes he responds, sometimes he doesn't. But they would invite me to debate over, what does the Bible say about homosexuality? And I would just always opt out of it. I'd say, here's the thing. I've said everything in my book that I wanted to say about that. And Deidre, if you need to come down this way, it's fine. You're not going to bother me. Look, I'm amazed. Your kids are amazing that they've gotten this far. So help her down the, yeah. You're not bothering me at all. Hey, little dude, how you doing? Mwah. So cute. Yeah, y'all do your thing. And again, your kids are, Sean, your kids are amazing. They sit through this, and are that good? Y'all are doing something right. Who married y'all? He must have been really, he must have set something in motion. Who dedicated those babies? Where was I? You're like, I don't know, Bishop. We don't know where you are in this story anymore. We've heard it. I guess I was talking about empathy, and some things you can't understand if you. Where I'm at now is, I'm so I'm not happy that she fell and hurt herself, but all things work together. And what I'm grateful for is when I do plan a funeral. I'm going to try to meet with the funeral home this week to be, cover as many bases as I can, so that when it happens, stuff will already be in motion. I'm so glad, and not everybody has this. You might not have had this advantage. I'm glad I'm not going to have to go right from what I've been doing for the last year into doing a funeral. Do you understand? It would not have been a good time for me to do that. Whereas now, I'm like, yeah, I want to give her a really nice send off. And I know funerals are expensive, but it's fine. I know what kind of flowers I want to get, and I don't know that I would have felt that way 2 months ago. You understand what I'm saying? Whereas now I'm like, no, my mom was great, and I was proud of her. And when I was a kid, mom and dad weren't like other parents. Like if they ever had to come to the school for something, the other parents were like, they looked like parents. Mom and dad back then, especially, there was no end to it after they would leave. Everybody would be like, your dad's in the mafia. Because dad always, the way he looked, he was in a suit and he drove. At that time, in the early days, we were po. We weren't poor, we were po. But later on, they did all right. And he drove a Cadillac and they dressed nice and we lived in a nice house. I mean, it took a minute, but they got there. And mom always looked like a movie star. And that's all I would hear for weeks. It was like, oh my God, your parents. Like we couldn't even watch the basketball game. We're just staring at your parents. I'm like, whatever, dude. Now I'm like, yeah, that was cool. Yeah, they did look amazing. And they were awesome. And I am proud of that. And, I've got enough distance now with my dad that I'm like, no, he took care of stuff, and even the way he left his money, because he didn't do a, y'all give her a hand on the way up. Maybe I shouldn't say, no, you're right. I'll be proven wrong in that. I will say it after the benediction next Sunday. It's about those stairs that I'm like, thank you, Jesus. We're not. It's not over with yet. But just say, y'all, just be careful. I will not miss that. Honestly, I think it's why some people don't come, because they're just like So, kudos to y'all who do. Like, I'm going. You have to choose you know what? There's no way you could have, those of you and most of y'all have been with me a minute. There's no way you could have sat under my ministry for this long if you didn't understand this principle. Because I'm sure there was something, and I'm not asking for a show of hands, because when I've done this before, y'all were way too eager. If I would say, did I ever say anything like, yes, you've offended me many times, like, okay, shut up. But the point is, you figured out somehow to say, yeah, he's a human being, and I'm okay with that. But the reason I stay with you is I'm supernaturally called to you. You are my shepherd. And there's nothing that says the actual sheep who are out in the sheepfold are all that crazy about their shepherd. He's just their shepherd. This is what y'all got. Better make the best of it, because you know I am. Some of y'all have tried. I've had people say, I cannot have a white pastor. I already have a white boss and a white, and you're like, you're not what I'm looking for. I'm like, well, go to a black church. I don't know what to tell you. This is as black as I can get. I'm like, no, I've had people write me and go, I don't even like you. But you have the words of life. They're angry when they say it. You're the only one with an anointing.
30 years and going.
But you know that has to have been there. Even since we've been here, there have been times you had to say, "Man, he tested me this week," but you came back the next week, because that's just how life works. And the reason church world is so bogus is people don't know that. You know, people just leaving churches over stuff that they should be able to say, yeah, he said that, but it wasn't a deal breaker. You know what I mean? Yes, I understand he feels that way, but because after a while, if you don't learn this principle, you're going to become so isolated that nobody's going to be there for you when you need somebody. And let me tell you something. You need people. I remember years ago doing a funeral. It was a graveside for a family that had recently left a church, and they left really badly. And it was like scorched earth when they left. And I went out and did their graveside. There was like nobody there. It was just like nobody there. And I remember it just was so oppressive, because I thought, these people really need their people right now. And they've burned the bridge with their people. Like there's nobody here. And I guess they didn't have a lot of family members, but you know, the scripture, was it you that wrote, Ken and I were about two are better than one? That's like the best thing. There's nothing you could say that's better than that. Because I posted about what he did, and you said, you wrote something, y'all are the embodiment of two are better than one. What a beautiful thing to say. And that's true for all of us. We are better together. But being together is a challenge sometimes. I mean, of course, Howie and I are going to be old men together. I'm not, but I was like, don't say that again, but I'm not in the mood. You know, when you're just like, somebody says something, you're like, not today, Satan. I'm not calling Howie Satan. I'm just saying, I know you're being funny, but that's not funny today. And yet, here we are. Why? Because we've chosen the good part about each other. Henceforth know we no man after the flesh, though we have known Christ after the flesh. Now we know him, therefore no more. Therefore know every man according to the Spirit. That's the way life works. Do you know? You have to say, yeah, you're not perfect because you don't have to be perfect. And I can say to my kids, I understand your point. And I'm not even trying to defend myself, because I don't know if I made a 10-hour statement, I'm not sure you could get your head around where I've been the last year. And that's okay. Even it's hard to quote Bill Cosby now, because it's a different world. But I remember years ago in one of his things, talking about how his kids loved his mother so much, and he's like, I don't know who that woman is. Like, I'm glad y'all love her, but I've never met her. And that's what you're supposed to feel about grandparents, you know? That's why grandparents feel a certain thing about grandkids, because you have some distance. But guess who's there for you? It's that person that's closest to you. And to be able to hear somebody say something, not even an accusation, because I'm not talking about just letting people dump all over you, but just if somebody says something that you think, you know what, that's a valid point, especially coming from your perspective, I can see how your reality, I can see how you would think that. And so I'm not even going to make a defense for myself, because yeah, it's, you know, you've got a point, and I'll be more aware of it. The good news for me now is it's not a struggle. Like, I'm posting pictures about my mom, and I'm like, oh, here's another batch. These are really cool. I want people to celebrate that with me. Like, yeah, there was a part of her that was just incredible, and that was the most part of her. There was, like, I didn't have a horrible childhood. I had stuff that I've talked about that was very painful, but my childhood there was parts of it that were great. I mean, and you know what's great when you start looking at the good part, then you keep remembering more and more good stuff. Like, I've just been in this mode even about my dad the last few days, and just thought, yeah, and you know what? He also did this, and he also did and I'm glad I can, you know, when you can't see the forest for the trees because you're so overwhelmed, you're not really seeing reality anymore. So, as your pastor, and I hope your friend, I want to say, again, thank you for indulging everything that I don't think it's just venting. It's like, I don't know. You know, for me, it's let your light so shine before men. Like, I want to show you, this is what I'm going through. It may be unrelated to what you're going through, but it may not be that unrelated. Like, maybe the circumstances are different, but maybe if I can help you show by example, this is how you get through stuff. And just be in agreement with me that whenever my mom goes, it's going to be at the right time, and I don't have to predict it, and that I'm in a frame of mind that if I were to go there today and she's sitting up in the bed saying, I told you I'm here for another 10 years, I'd be like, did not see that coming, got a few phone calls to make, not sure you're going to love what we've done with the house, but that's the way it is now. And it's okay. You don't have to just always be in defense mode. You don't have to be in victim mode. And you can still tell the truth and see somebody else's viewpoint and to say, I understand why you see it that way. And if you owe somebody an apology, to say, you're right, you got me. You know. And if you don't owe them an apology, at least say, I can't retract that statement, but I understand why that was hard for you. And it's okay. Somebody else doesn't have to be wrong for you to be right. And the same thing with the Bible. You know, with what I told you last week, if y'all didn't have some kind of Bible background, it could make you want to throw your Bible away. Like, what do we even have one of these in the house? But you let me talk through it, because those are real things that people are really dealing with in church world. It can't be ignored. But it also did not make you hate the Bible, I don't think. I didn't pick that up from anybody. Because you know what? To once again quote Leona, we're grown folk up in here. And grown folk communicate a completely different way. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a way as an adult you talk to other adults. I'm talking about really grown people. That's completely different. To a really grown person, you can tell your situation and they can say, I hear you. And don't even necessarily counsel you unless you ask for it. Just say, I hear you. What do you want for lunch? Because it's not either or. It's yes and. And that's what I want to leave you with about these origin stories. I don't mind putting the Bible under a microscope. I don't mind. And especially if I think it's negatively affecting people, I think it's my responsibility. Because I'm telling you, there's a bunch of people preaching today that they do not know the Bible. They do not know where it came from. I can just tell. I can be walking through a room and hear, especially when Mom was still at the house, if she didn't have Fox News on, she had TBN, and I'd hear somebody say something, and just without me looking, I'd be like, that's not in that verse. It's verse 23. I mean, it's just that's so natural to me. I'm like, that's not even what that verse says in the original. No point in telling her that. I'm just saying, that's my area of expertise. And but it also doesn't make me want to throw it away. I think, you know what? That's what's giving you comfort. So, Selah and Namaste, in that order. Let's all stand. Did you get anything out of this today? I don't know. That was weak. What? Oh my, y'all sit yourselves down. Thank you, Michelle. Let me show you this real quick. 2 things. The most destructive thing I've ever done was believe someone else's opinion of me. You hear me? Who told you were naked? Thanks for reminding me, Michelle, because that's the point of the origin story. Sometimes what somebody has told you who you are, you're a sinner saved by grace, you're fallen, you're unrighteous, you're whatever. And here's this one was the best. And it's just this page, it's called 11:11 Awakening. I don't even do with it. But this was their whenever I was up early, this was their reading for today. Life can change in a second. 1 minute you think you know the plan, the next everything shifts. You hearing me? Sometimes it lifts you, sometimes it humbles you. There will be joy, there will be loss. There will be peace, and there will be moments that test you. Stop trying to only accept the good parts. I just did a teaching the other night about the definition of abundant life. Abundant life just means a lot of life.
Yeah.
It's an abundance of life.
Yeah.
So that means you're going to have a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah.
You cannot experience the fullness of life if you only want the light and reject the dark.
Yeah.
Both shape you. Both grow you. Both make the moments sweeter. You are not meant to avoid life. You are meant to live it fully, even when it's uncertain, even when it's uncomfortable. Because in the end, what will matter is not how perfect it was, but that you showed up for it. Let's all stand. Play me the outro. This will be the second.
Metron is quick and easy. You can give any time using any smartphone. Text the amount you'd like to donate to 404-620-5044. You will then receive a notification that you successfully completed your donation. You may also visit BishInTheNow.com and click the support tab to give there as well. When you contribute to Metron, you're also donating to the charity or organization of the month. Thank you for your investment into Metron.
If you're making a check, make the JESM. If you have cash, just pay it forward. If you can be here next Sunday, I'm not saying it's the last time I'm going to see you in person, but it may be a while before I see you in person. So if that matters to you, make plans to be here. I bless your life. I bless your ability to choose the good part, but not to avoid the bad part. That the good is so good that the light shines in darkness and the darkness cannot overtake it. I say that you walk in the light this week, and that whatever happens in any of our lives, we're ready for it, we embrace it, we accept abundant life, and we walk in the joy of it. God bless you. Go in peace. Love you, man.